Are you looking to sell your CSGO skins? Well, you've come to the right place, my friend, because in this video I'll be showing you and you only the 4 best ways to cash out your CSGO inventory. Going from beginner difficulty all the way up to insane, we'll go over the pros, the cons, and the level of skill and knowledge required to make the most money out of each. My name is Dadscap, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell if you enjoyed the video, and without further ado, let's start. I am 99% sure that marketplaces are the most popular way to cash out your inventory if you're a bit of a noob or if you don't want to get a headache by dealing with people. First and foremost, they're very safe to use. As long as your API key isn't compromised, check out the video on the top right if you have no idea what this means, by the way, you're pretty much guaranteed to not get scammed. Also, you can usually sell whatever you've got very quickly, and by that I mean maybe a few days at most if your listing isn't the cheapest available. And finally, they're pretty much built and made for you. You are their target audience and convenience is what they're offering you. Unfortunately, being normie friendly comes with some cons. For example, the selling fees. Oof! Yeah, they're not cheap. You can expect to lose between 5 and 15% of your item's value to the site you're selling on. They're also very unreliable if you happen to be selling a weird or a niche item like a special float skin or a cool looking sticker combo. Nice. So, unless you're willing to sell at a big discount, it's gonna take a while for your stuff to sell. And on top of all that, if you just so happen to be underage, marketplaces may not be a great option for you since they'll usually ask you for some identification before you can withdraw your money, which complicates a whole lot of things. You can check out some trustworthy marketplaces I've linked in the description down below. Disclaimer, all the links are affiliate links, which means that I'm not being paid to say this, I'm not sponsored, but I will make a few dollars if you decide to sell your items using my code. At no cost from you, obviously. Just wanted to put that out there, be transparent and all that. For more advanced traders, dealing with marketplaces can be a little problematic, mostly because of the fees. At some point, you're gonna want to cut the middleman out. Direct cash trades can be an interesting option because as long as you've got a buyer, it's an instant exchange. You get the money, they get the item, no waiting, and no 15% selling fee BS. It's also a way of trading that's begging for negotiations. On marketplaces, you usually just list the price and you leave it at that, hoping that it's good enough for somebody. But in cash trades, there's usually some wiggle room available and it's possible to get a better price than you would have initially hoped for if you're a good salesman. Furthermore, it's also a great way to build your personal cash rep and network with other big traders and influencers, oh my god. A better cash rep means people are more comfortable going to you if they want to trade their items, and this gives you a huge upper hand during the previously mentioned negotiation. But just like marketplaces, it's not all sunshine and rainbow, and it has many disadvantages. For example, you'll actively have to put in some effort. Research and negotiations can be pretty mentally exhausting and can take a while before you find somebody that actually knows how pricing an item works. Indeed, most of the offers you'll encounter will be pretty bad, not to say dog, and playing the I highball you, you lowball me game can feel silly after some time. This method is also unbelievably risky, especially if you're a lower tier trader and haven't yet figured out all the signs to spot a scammer. Unless you're using a middleman, a cash trade necessarily means someone has to go first, which, can be quite scary. Okay, put on your big boy pants right now because we're gonna be talking about the buff balance trading, the advanced method to cash out your CSGO inventory. I've already talked about this method in my How to Profit Trading CSGO Skins video, but I'll explain it real quick in case you have no idea what I'm talking about. Since Buff is the biggest marketplace for CSGO items, a lot of traders sell their items on Buff at a fees cost of only 2.5%, and then they sell their balance to another trader for real life cash. Buff balance is basically the default currency for CSGO items. Think of it as like a cryptocurrency, but that's exclusive to people who have never been touched by a woman. This method is pretty neat for many reasons. The first one being that it's pretty safe. When you've reached the point of trading buff balance, that usually means that you're pretty experienced yourself and you're trading with other experienced traders, which means that both of you guys usually have some form of a legitimate reputation to show off. Also, it's probably the best method if you're selling a rare illiquid item since Buff is the default marketplace for the vast majority of traders who are specifically looking for the most unique items that money can buy. Therefore, to maximize your chances of selling your AK with a float value of 0.6969, selling it on Buff and trading the balance just after is probably your best shot. Unfortunately, despite all the pros, there are still some cons when using this method. The first one being that it's a little complicated. As you saw, there are many steps to go through and it can be easy to sell at a loss if you're in a rush. Also, since buff balance is basically your currency, that means that it's subject to the laws of supply and demand. If you're trying to sell in a market environment where many other traders are also trying to sell, be ready to pay a hefty fee for it. And finally, most buyers are unwilling to buy a very low amount of balance. So if you're trying to cash out cheap stuff, it's gonna be complicated. If you're an insane motherfucker that doesn't care about putting in the work to squeeze out every cent out of your inventory, flipping Steam decks is probably the best method for you. First, you're gonna have to sell your inventory on the Steam community market. No, I'm not trolling. Why? Well, simply because you're gonna need to have Steam balance to buy as many Steam decks as you'll need to empty it. After Valve finally ships you the product, you're gonna put them up for sale online at a slight discount on sites like eBay or Amazon. And once you've sold however many Steam decks you could get your hands on, you can withdraw the money to your bank account. Like I've said earlier, this is the best method out there if your goal is to maximize profit and nothing else. It's also probably the least boring method out there considering all of the steps we've got to go through. And it's also the best way to convince your friends and family that you're not actually an unemployed loser, but a legit businessman since you'll be handling actual physical items and not just pixels on a screen. But as I've already said, the extreme amount of effort it requires for possible marginal better profit margin is probably not worth it for most of the human population, aka the non-insane one. You're probably gonna have to compete with other people also using this method if you try to sell on popular e-commerce sites. That means competing with other insane people just like yourself, and that for sure can end well for your mental and financial health. And as the cherry on top, for the rich kids with very expensive items, you cannot use this method to sell them since Valve doesn't allow a balance exceeding $2,000. If you do that, you'll end up like the poor kid who sold a butterfly knife emerald on the Steam market for a tenth of its real price. Let me know in the comments which cash out method do you prefer. I want to see a debate and a fiery conversation if possible. In the meantime, Dadscap is out. Peace.